People matter more when Christ matters most. We talked about love and risking love, dealing with the fact that love doesn't keep us from being hurt, keeps us from being empty. We talked about tithing and generosity, and if we're withholding our tithing and our generosity from the Lord, we're also withholding our love and our trust. Last week we talked about being completely surrendered to the Lord. And what does it mean to be wholly given over and surrendered to Him? Today, we want to talk about and ask the question, do we mean what we say? Do our words actually communicate what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and what we mean? I know on the surface we'd like to say, yeah, that's the case, but it doesn't seem to always be that way. I mean, how many times have you said something and then you said, honest? I swear it's true. As God is my witness. Is there any phrase that comes to your mind after I say that? I always think, as God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. I guess you have to watch WKRP years ago when he threw turkeys out of the helicopter and it just didn't go well. Well, you know why we say these kinds of things? Because unfortunately, overall, we don't have a good reputation. When I say we, I mean people. The general public expects that people lie. And so we're always having to verify that when we say something, no, really, that's what we meant. Remember, they used to say that a man or a woman is only as good as their word. Remember that? I don't. I'm not that old, but Mary is, obviously. I'm sorry, Mary. Here I am, I'm talking about what we say and we should be nice. You're not older than dirt. So, what would happen if our word actually did mean something? You say, well, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But we say a lot of bizarre things. We exaggerate, we lie. You know, I'm sorry to say that here, I'm a pastor, and pastors have a reputation of exaggerating. Is that true? Yeah, you're sitting there. I don't know, should we tell you? It's true. I mean, except me. People speak foul language. We've talked about it in here. People say things and they look at other people and say, go to hell. Really? Really, I can't imagine how much pain the Lord when people say, God, and follow it with a damn. Really? That's what you're asking? That's what you're wanting? And anymore, it's not enough that people say, oh my, and then take the Lord's name in vain. Now I hear people saying, and oh my effing, you've heard it. Are you kidding me? How on earth does that happen? How can we sink so low as to disdain the name of God in that manner? We talk about the fact that people matter. And because people matter, our words matter. What we say, how we speak, and many times our words put us in a position that we don't want to be. Our words imprison us. By the way, before you leave, in the back, there's a little photo op for you. It says, in jail. And you can take a picture of yourself in jail there and tell people, I was in church today. Now, I just illustrated to you how it happens. We went from a heavy moment and suddenly we're laughing that fast. That's how quick we can buy into disdainful language and behavior. Because Satan moves us when God begins to speak, and he tries to move us to a point where it just doesn't seem that bad. Our words nail us to the wall when they are not consecrated and sanctified by the Lord himself. We say things that are disdainful. I hate you. I'm leaving. Don't ever speak to me again. You'll never amount to anything. You're a loser. God doesn't care about me. Let me show you my little card here. Let's look at something. What could possibly go wrong? Nothing. Nothing could go wrong. Yeah, I think we should open it. Yeah, that's right. You get it, don't you? Yeah, when you get all shaken up, when things are disturbed, you take the lid off. You can't get it back. You see my little bottle over here? Everything's still in there. You know what else? I'll let this sit for a while and I'll be able to open it and it won't blow up. We need to learn to keep our mouth shut. Because once it blows up, once it comes out, you can't get it back. And I think too often we act like bottles of pop. And we give excuses for the words that we use and anger that comes out of us as if somehow that's okay. Do we say what we mean? Do our words evidence that we really walk with the Lord? Bottom line this morning is what you say reveals who you are. Let's look at some scripture in Matthew chapter 5. Beginning with verse 33. Again, you've heard that it was said to the people long ago, do not break your oath, but keep the oaths you've made to the Lord. But I tell you, do not swear at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Do not swear by your head, for you cannot make even one hair white or black. Simply let your yes be yes, and your no, no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil. Father, as we look at this, and as we look at our words and how we handle them, what we say, Lord, you know every person in here. Nobody knows us better than you. I pray that you would examine us and give us a willingness to be honest before you, I pray. In Christ's name, amen. A little background to this. As you know, in Judaism, there are a lot of laws. Do this, don't do that. You walk that narrow way. And what happened was there were certain oaths that were made. There were all kinds of covenants, different sorts of covenants. And the feeling was if you made this covenant, or if you made this oath in public or before the Lord, then, okay, you got to keep it. But let's say that you make a covenant behind closed doors. Let's say that John and I make an oath, I make a promise to him, but because nobody saw it, well, I can go ahead and break it. It's all right. And so what they did is they developed this pattern of saying, well, I swear by heaven above, or I swear by the earth. I swear by the holy city of Jerusalem. I swear by my head. All kinds of ways of swearing and making an oath to say that what I am telling you, I'm going to carry through. He says, you swear by your head, and you don't even have the ability to determine whether your head is white or black. Clearly, this is before beauty salons. Actually, they could color their hair back then, but what he's saying is you don't determine your hair color. You don't determine any of this. The thrust behind this is God is saying, nothing in life happens apart from me. You think you're just swearing by the earth. I created the earth. You think you're swearing by your head. I made you. I made the heavens. Jerusalem is my city. Nothing that comes out of our mouths can be separated from the presence of God. That's why what we say matters. That's why we need to think about what we say before it falls out of our mouth. Jesus isn't condemning, actually, in this passage, all oaths or covenants. What he's saying is, mean what you say. Let your yes be yes and let your no be no, and live up to it. And we have to say things like, hey, I promise with all my heart, or all this kind of stuff. What we're saying is we're perceived as a liar. You can't really trust me, and so I've got to add all these extra words in to somehow give credibility. Remember the old thing that we used to chant? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. What a lie. I'm willing to bet my life that everybody here, without exception, carries scars from words that have been spoken to you. Where you were made fun of as a kid, for whatever reason. Where people have said to you as adults things that were cutting and painful. Words do hurt. And they don't just exit our brain. You are sitting here with memories of things that you were told when you were very small that you have not been able to get away from, and they still control some of your behaviors. In fact, some of those words spoken to you as a small child, you still allow them to tell you who you really are. And it's not true. Words matter. And so we better think about it. Man, we can speak words that kill enthusiasm, that cut through people's self-esteem, that lower expectations, or we can speak words that motivate and encourage and offer hope and vision. What are we saying? What words come out of our mouths? Never take them lightly. I frankly, I am appalled in many marriages at the words that are spoken in marriages. And what husbands and wives say to one another. Their words become weapons of war. When in fact our words, I want the words that I speak to Queenie, I want them to be cushions upon which she could land. I want my words to be safe, not threatening. Our words matter. And once they're out, I can't take them back. And we can say harmful things like, I hate you. And they would say, oh, I didn't really mean that. I just said it in a moment of anger. And the person says, well, I forgive you, but there's a big question mark in their head. Did you really mean that? Is that a Freudian slip? What's really going through your mind? Words matter. Our emotions cannot determine what falls out of our mouths. Well, what is the meaning behind saying what we mean? Well, first of all, it demonstrates our integrity. Integrity, meaning that we're undivided. We're complete. We are whole in Christ. And the words that I speak reveal the integrity of my walk with God Himself. I know you're all familiar with Abraham Lincoln. When Abraham Lincoln was 24 years of age, he was the postmaster in Salem, Illinois. Apparently the post office didn't do well in Salem at that time, and they closed it. And when they closed it, there was still a debt owed back to the government of $17. It took 7 years before somebody from the government showed up at Salem to collect that 17 bucks. By that time, Lincoln was a fledgling attorney, not doing well, pretty broke. The government official shows up at his front door. I'm here to collect the $17 when the post office closed. Lincoln goes across in his little cabin and he opens an old trunk and he pulls out a yellow cloth that's tied. He lays it out across the table and pays the $17. Lincoln said, I'll never spend money that isn't mine. What's the label that we gave Abraham Lincoln? Honest Abe. Integrity. What we speak, what we promise, what we covenant, it reflects on our character, who we are. Do we have integrity? Honesty. Does honesty emanate from us? Does it permeate our words? 4 high school boys were late to school one day. Kind of laughing because you knew they were up to something. And of course they said to their teacher, hey, we're sorry we're late. We had a flat tire on the way in, blah, blah, blah. Teacher said, I'm sorry you're late too. You missed a test this morning. But I'm going to cut you slack. I'm going to let you make that test up. And so she put them in 4 corners of the room. She went out and stood in the middle of the room. She said, one question on the test. Which tire was flat? You know, the funny thing is, when we are dishonest, we might think we got away with it. It'll catch up to us. It'll catch up to us not because God wants to nail us, it's because He cares about us. And He said, I don't want that to become a part of your character and who you are. What you say matters, and honesty should be pouring out of your mouth. Trustworthiness should be a part of your character. Man, who do you trust nowadays? Good night. I think we should trust politicians. They always let us know what a way it is. There's a story of a busload of politicians, actually, that were on their way to a convention, but there was road construction, kind of like on your way into Kinnan on 62. Isn't it fun? You build extra time into your schedule? No, you really don't. You're running late and you show up there and you get upset. Anyway, this bus got off the main highway and took some back roads. They were windy. Bus driver's getting all shook up. He loses control of the bus, plows through a fence, hits a tree. Farmer comes along and he sees the hole in his fence. He sees the bus. He didn't know what to do, so he buries them. And state trooper comes out. Might have been Adam, for all we know. Trooper shows up and he says, well, don't you think you should have called a coroner? He said, maybe they weren't all dead. And the farmer said, well, that's what some of them were telling me. He said, but you know politicians, you can't believe what they say. If we're not trustworthy, ultimately it catches up to us and it's costly. I wonder how many times you and I have missed opportunities because people thought we weren't trustworthy. And while we said we would follow through, or while we said we would do whatever it is we said we would do, they're thinking you really won't. And so they never planned on you. They never thought you would be a part because you lack trustworthiness. Dependability. Who can depend on us? You know what's nice? When you tell somebody something, and then, because we're kind of conditioned this way, we say, I promise I'll do it. And they say to you, I know, you don't have to say that. When you tell me something, I believe it. Is that not nice to hear? That somebody believes that you are dependable. Dependable. I want people to think that I'm dependable. There was a guy who was very sick. He was dying. Pastor met with him in his home and he prayed with him. And the guy said, look, he said, why would people do this? He said, if I get healed and I live through this, I'm going to give the church $1 million. And he lived, got through it. About 7 months later, the pastor said to him, hey, you said you were going to give the church $1 million if you made it. I haven't seen any of that yet. The guy said, "Did I say that? I must have really been sick." You know, all those excuses you throw out for not doing what you said you would do, and you thought that they were plausible, you thought they were legitimate. Not so much. I wonder how many times we have wrecked our reputation of being dependable. And the truth is, we just didn't want to do it. See, when we say what we mean, it reveals our character. It reveals our godliness. God meant what he said, and he carried through. When we mean what we say, it also means that we value the people around us. Like I said earlier, people matter, so our words matter. And what I say to you, because you matter, because you're important, I don't want to throw daggers at you. I don't want to rip you up. And you know, I think I may have told you this before. My mind swirls a lot. And if I'm talking to somebody that I think is being a major jerk, my tongue wants to unsheath itself and just lay them out. Like God always stops me and says, "You think that's going to be helpful? When you're done, Tom, you got to share the gospel with them. Think you have a platform for that?" How we speak to people demonstrates how we value them. Does it mean that we ignore horrible behavior? No. But we don't have to rip people apart to address tough situations. We value people. That's a part of meaning what we say. It shows that we walk with God. Let me give you some points to take home. First of all, this won't be a surprise. It's not new to you. Think about what you're going to say before you say it. But do it in this context. Not only think about what you're going to say before you say it, think about how the person that you're about to say it to is going to hear it. Third, think about how God is going to feel about what you're about to say. How will he respond to that? You and I do not live in a vacuum. We don't live independent of God, even though you might think you do. We don't think that God lets us go out on our own little merry chase over here and do what we want to do, and he'll have no say in it. Or he won't care what happens on this particular incident. Yeah, he does. And he's there. Keep your promises, even when they seem really insignificant. You know where it's really tough? Is when you have wee little ones and they want you to come in and play. Yeah, I will. I'll be there in a minute, honey. And you have no intention of going in. What'd you just teach them? Your word really doesn't mean squat. Don't fall into cultural patterns. Excuse me. When they diminish your reputation. Cultural patterns are, hey, can I have just 5 minutes of your time? You know they're going to take like 6 months of your time. Queen will tell you, I had a lady that I really never wanted to talk to her. She'd say, can I have 5 minutes? And I would know that at the time that she wanted to talk to me, I could finish a college degree and want to get a master's. It wouldn't really be short. Say what you mean. You know how we come into church every Sunday morning, we're smiling. Everything. How are you doing? Oh, I'm doing great. I knew I was going to preach this morning. So it was a bummer because I came in and I'm sick. People say, how are you doing today? And I wanted to say, great. And I thought, I wish I had a different sermon today. And I had to say, I'm sick. Just the way it is. Sick. The world's not going to end. I'm going to go on. But I don't feel good today. I don't really feel like preaching. It's hard to get someone to fill it last minute. Don't fall into cultural patterns of just saying things to say them. Because you know, I'm not telling you to come in here with a list 20 miles long of all the things you got wrong with you. But it's okay when you come in and you're having a bad day to say, you know, today stinks. What do you have to say? And you know what you'll find out? People will come and wrap their arms around you and pray for you and love you. When we're honest and we say what we mean, we discover the church is real. Excuse me, but God's love is real. I need to drink Diet Coke. I'm going to drink Diet Coke. In this case, I'm glad he blew his top. My apologies. But my throat says thank you. How about you go in and they say, hey, your table will be ready in 5 minutes. And then they come and get you an hour later. And you blow up. Guess it'll be hard to share the gospel with that person. The words matter. I'm always reminded of the scripture that says God is patient with us. He does not wish that any of us should perish. Can we be patient with one another? One of the things that God always has to remind me about is that everybody has a story. And that when I go into a store, whoever I'm talking to, I have no idea what will only live like that day. Where they're at, what stresses they have. I need to treat it like they matter. But my words better matter. I love the classic. The check is in the mail. Here's my solution to this, folks. Get a piece of paper, put a big check mark on it, and just mail it out. The check is in the mail. You got it covered. I'm telling you, the check is in the mail is indicative of lots of our behavior. Might not be a check, but maybe somebody asked you to do something and you didn't do it. They don't know it, but they say, hey, have it done? Oh, yeah, it's done. I'll get it to you. I'll get it to you tomorrow. I just haven't been able to get with you. They don't have it done. We're just lying right through our teeth. Just say, I didn't do it. I dropped the ball. Because you know what? We all do. We all make mistakes. That's just the way it is. We service what we sell. Tell me about it. If elected, I promise I'll be there at 4. Okay, Queenie will tell you this is one of my pet peeves. Hardiness. Everybody's late from time to time. I get that. I get it. When you are consistently late, what you're telling the other people is they are less important than you are. Your time is what matters. Theirs doesn't. So if you make them wait for a while, big deal. I hate it when it gets quiet because then maybe God's getting personal. I don't know. Let what you say point to who you are and where you're headed in life. Say what you mean. Now, when I say what you mean, it's sometimes easier to say what I just said than it is to actually say it. because we all hear things differently. For example, I started preaching back in the, actually I started preaching in the late 60s when I was still in high school. And back then, even people that did not ascribe to Christianity, they would not classify themselves as Christian, they were still very familiar with Judeo-Christian values. And they were actually even familiar with church talk. Well, it's not the case anymore. And one of the things I try to work at is, am I using language that nobody has a clue as to what I'm saying? I might think it's clear, but they don't. Queenie and I joke about this with each other. Because I say something very clearly and Queenie doesn't get it. Clearly her fault. She'll tell me, and I'm a literalist. I mean, if you say something to me, I hear what you say literally. And you may not mean it literally. That's the way I hear it. So you got to figure all this out. So when we say what you mean, well, I got to figure out how to say what I mean. Because there's what I think I'm saying, there's what you thought I said, there's what the dictionary actually defines as what was said. And we got to work that out. And I need to then mean what I say. Don't give people answers where you're just waffling back and forth, where you give them things to appease them when you have no intention of following through. Mean what you say. It might not be fun. You know, where you make an agreement and you're going to say, hey, let's have dinner. Talk about some people. We're going to go out to dinner together. And that night comes around, you don't feel like it. So you call, you tell them some lie. I'm sick tonight. Too busy, something came up, whatever. You still want to go. Don't want to go. Mean what you say. A few years ago, I went into Perkins. Perkins, you know, they've got a 55 and older menu. It's cheaper. I said to myself, I can eat cheaper. So I looked the menu over, the waitress came over, but clearly I'm not thin. And so I said to her, I said, I need to know, are these senior portions the same as the other portions? You know, I'm not going to give you less money and then have a couple little dots on my plate that you think would satisfy me. She said, oh yeah, they're the same. I'm in. I gave her my order, and she said, thank you, and then she said, sir, I'm going to need to see some ID. She carded me in the restaurant. I looked her in the face and I said, I love you. Nobody asks me that anymore. In fact, I've been given senior discounts without them even asking. And I'm greatly offended by it. A friend of mine were in Washington, D.C. a few years ago. We were up in Arlington, you know, we were on a missions team, and we had a few days, and, or a day before our flight left, so we were going around touring up in Arlington, so we were getting tickets to the train. We get up there, and the guy gave us senior discount tickets. I wasn't a senior. And I said to the guy, we're not seniors. He said, it's okay. You go away, white-haired boy. I just give you the discount. Do you know why that lady asked to see ID? Because she didn't trust me. My word meant nothing. We live in a society where, by and large, people's word means nothing. That is not who we are. If we're saying that God has a monopoly on our lives, then we're saying our words matter. And we need to say what we mean and mean what we say. We want our lives to be laced with integrity and honesty, and trustworthiness and dependability and character. We want people to know that we value them. And that in everything that comes out of our mouth, we want it to point to the fact that we love Jesus Christ. Where are you today? What is it that comes out of your mouth that might be careless? Do you say what you mean? Do you mean what you say? Is Christ exalted in our language? Would you stand with me, please?